Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is just past midnight on Saturday, February the 8th, 2025. That makes this the news for Friday, February the 7th, 2025, day 1080 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. How do you do? I'm Peter Alexievich, and I'm coming to you live at 5 from Kyiv, this major European capital city currently under siege. I see the peeps are coming in. Hey, Chef Deb. Hey, Mad Mike. Richard Prexis is here. Brian Kornbaugh is here. Patrick Schiffer is here. How's everybody doing tonight? Hey, Bobby. Hey, Darlene. I'm still, you can probably hear it. The throat is rough, so that's okay. I got somebody to cover for me tonight. Hey, Tisno. How's life in Croatia? I might just come see you this summer. You got a beach, don't you? Croatia's got a beach. Hey, Hobo. Hey, Bro Dog. Hey, Fitzy. How's everybody doing? So, guys, I have a special treat for us tonight. You're not going to have to listen to me very much at all. And with the way that my voice is given out, it's probably for the best. So, hey, G2, welcome to the Patreon, pal. That's what we're going to talk about, B, in 1 second. Give me 1 second on that. So what I want to do is I just want to do a couple of top-line news items real fast, including the Kursk thing. So last night's missile and drone attack on the territory of Ukraine, we saw 112 drones of the Shahed 131, 136 attack variety sent at the territory of Ukraine with a 100% interception rate. And some of you might have heard the video that I did. I recorded a video yesterday while air defense was active. It was loud last night before the live. It sure was. But then things settled down quick. And according to the UAF, 100% interception rate on the drones last night. Now, the big story today, hey, Anthony Tommy John, hey, Nicola Jones. The big story today, what everybody is talking about is what's happening in Kursk. Now, there's a couple things happening in Kursk. I think it's worth noting. One is a political mind fuck that Zelensky has pulled on the Kremlin. And it's going beautifully, I must say. Kyiv has said very clearly, we are happy to open a humanitarian corridor so that Russian citizens trapped in the occupied territories can leave as soon as Moscow requests one. So the Moscow talking heads are saying that they're doing everything they can for the people in the occupied territories, except asking the Ukrainians to give them safe passage to leave. And of course, let's not forget that last week, the Russian authorities bombed the evacuation shelter where there were 94 Russian citizens sheltering and tried to blame it on the Ukrainians. Ridiculous. Now, the big thing, the big news, and what B is asking about is the Kursk offensive. It is clear now that on the 6th-month anniversary of the Kursk incursion, yesterday, Thursday, the 6th of February, the Ukrainians launched a series of battalion-sized mechanized attacks against the Russian forces in Kursk. They pushed through the lines. They've taken 4 towns now, it looks like. By all accounts, they have pushed at least 5 kilometers southeast of Sudza and expanded the salient by about 25 square kilometers. Now, it appears as though some of those mechanized columns have split off and are traveling slightly, or basically due east. And then the other half are headed due southeast. We do not know what the objective is, though the common thinking is the town of Ulnak, which is just east of where the Ukrainians currently are. Now, there is a lot of video out there from the Russian side showing FPV drones taking out Ukrainian tanks and MRAPs and other armored personnel carriers. I know there's video of one Striker being hit. However, there is very little follow-up video. We don't know how many of those hits against those Western armored pieces were efficacious, right? Certainly some armor's been taken out. Certainly some soft targets have been taken out. But the Russian mill blogger community is very split on what has happened there. Some are saying that the attack has been fully rebuffed and everybody on the Ukrainian side has been slaughtered. Then others are saying that the Ukrainians are still coming and we need to do something now to stop them. We don't really know what's happening. The fog of war and operational security from the Ukrainian side is holding us back, right? I haven't heard anything at all about the Gravehawks. I don't know the answer to that, Mel. So that's the current situation in Kursk. A humanitarian corridor is on offer. The Russians are not asking for one. The Ukrainians appear to be expanding the salient by about 25 square kilometers in the last 24 hours. And we don't know how much farther they'll be able to push or if they'll even be able to push at all. B, does that answer your question? Does anybody have any follow-up questions on what's happening in Kursk? Now, you said the weather wasn't suitable for mechanized attack last week, so Ukraine is using roads. Willow's clock, that's got to be true. You've got to have made an excellent point there. I would think you're right. As a matter of fact, based on, so the point that Willowsock is making, and it's a good point to make, the weather has not been cold enough for the ground to be frozen. That means that the Ukrainians have to take the same risk that the Russians take when they advance. They have to take the roads, which means that the Russians know where they're coming from, and that would explain why we're seeing so much video of FPV drone attacks against the Ukrainian armor. So no, it's a fair point. They are exposed, Willow's clock. Yes, they are. The Challengers are the best tank in Russia. My pleasure. It was an excellent point, and I should have mentioned it. Hey, Michael, how's life in Phoenix? Still unseasonably warm? It got seasonably cold here. Now, it hasn't not been cold enough for the ground to freeze. And I don't think that the temperatures hovering right around freezing the way that they are right now are going to be enough for a good hard freeze. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Now, guys, I hate to walk things back, and I hate to admit that I've made mistakes. So I won't. Instead, I will blame the person who is to blame, the person I quoted, David Axe. Now, look, David Axe is top of the line when it comes to journalistic integrity, as far as I can tell. The magazine he writes for, Forbes magazine, is top of the line for journalistic integrity, as far as I can tell. However, we all make mistakes. And today, I repeated that David Axe had reported that yesterday, the Russians had attempted to fire an Oreshnik missile against Ukraine, but that it blew up in mid-flight. That may not be correct. It may not have happened. Now, what's going on? Well, there is a Ukrainian war blogger who insists that this is what happened, and he has some evidence to indicate that it did happen. But he's the only source we have. He's the only good source. Right, Nightshade? And David Axe ran with the story. He believed the evidence, right? What little there is. He believed it. He ran with the story too. Single source. There's no verification, and there's no objective proof. For you guys that watch my videos, you know I mentioned this morning that I was waiting for the NASA Firms data website to update in the hopes that I would see a big fire in Astrakhan where they launch these things from. No fire on the Firms data today. So, hey, Joey Contino, how you doing? You want to come on live? You want to say a few things? Love to have you, pal. So, what was I going to say? So the fact is, we don't know whether or not the Oreshnik failure happened yesterday. Moscow is not saying anything. Who would be able to confirm it? I'll tell you who'd be able to confirm it. Our Department of Defense. Because our Department of Defense gets a warning call from the Russians when they're going to launch something that might be confused with a nuclear bomb. And so if we can get somebody from the Pentagon to say that they got that call, then we have a high degree of certainty that it happened. Without that call or without that confirmation, we do not have that certainty. But I would ask you, does it even matter that much? The point is, with the Oreshniks, it's the idea of fear, of creating the fear. The weapons themselves are wildly imprecise, do not carry a warhead or other conventional munitions. The amount of damage they can do is limited, like we saw in Dnipro. And so, and the fact that we were all so ready to believe it gives a great deal of insight, I think, into how this war has shown us that, Russian technology is not what we would want it to be. That's for sure. Okay. And that's it for me. Tony, I'm thinking maybe if we got Joey coming in, maybe why don't we add you in the box too, instead of trying to squeeze you in here.
I'm too close.
You're too close?
Yeah, this sounds will.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. That's a good point. Here, come on over. Pull a chair.
I'll stay here. I'll come and say hi.
Yeah, come and say hi. Come and say hi to everybody. Look who's here.
It's me, it's Toni.
It's Toni Tikeri, baby. So Tony is here. He's our special guest this evening. Hey, Arn. So Tony is, where'd you come from today? Lviv, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and where are you headed to?
Donbass.
Headed to the Donbass. Headed out to Kramatorsk, which is really a joyride today, right? It's really a pleasure. It's nice, right? It's going to be nice.
It's a nice ride.
So I think mostly everybody knows Tony. If you don't know Tony, Tony runs aid all the way from Finland out to the Donbass. And we met through TikTok here. And sometimes when Tony's coming through, he crashes here at my place. And so and Tony is not the only one. Some other folks do too.
Yeah.
How close do you get to the front line, Tony?
About 8 kilometers, maybe. That depends if I go to like Konstantinivka and places like this, Pokrovsk.
So as close as 8 kilometers.
Yeah.
That's a little less than 5 miles.
That's almost too close.
It's I mean, I would think you're in artillery range there.
I am.
You are?
Yes.
Okay, well then,
Because
yeah.
The drones are following me, and I'm a moving target.
You're a moving target.
Yeah. I was too fast last time. They didn't hit me.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Right, within FPV drone range as well, Mel, yes.
Also, yeah. That's really dangerous at the moment.
So be careful.
Yeah, I'll try to.
Be careful. Who else has questions for Tony?
Or Peter.
Oh, they listen to me all the time, the poor bastards. Attaboy, Tony.
Yeah, thanks.
Politiki says, nice to see fellish Finnish people.
Yeah. Hyvää iltaa kaikille.
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah, exactly. Good evening, everybody.
Clay wants to know, what do you do? And how is morale at the front?
The morale at the front is pretty good because they get aid from almost every place, and yeah, they are getting a lot of love, but yeah, they're also under high firing at all times. So it's crazy. This is a crazy war.
It's as opposed to all the sane wars.
Yeah. Insane.
Dude, I forget, was it you that told me or somebody else told me when we were out in Kramatorsk, I think it was my buddy Yarrow. He said that in Kramatorsk one time, they had 26 air alerts in 24 hours. Was that you that told me that, or was that Yarrow? It might have been Yarrow.
Yeah, I think it's Yarrow.
Yeah.
But it's the sirens shouting all the time there.
Yeah. And what you say morale is pretty good?
Yeah, it is.
Among the troops, I think they're asking. Yes? Okay. Hey, Dan Ballard. What do the troops want the most? If you could send anything to the front line, what would you send, other than women?
At winter time, hand warmers, generators, so they can charge the FPVs, the phones, Starlinks, everything like this. So they need power, they need electricity, and there's a lot of things, spare parts for drones like propellers, everything.
Hobo pays attention. Hobo's been around since the beginning, and I specifically told Tony he did not have to bring mustard this time because I still have some.
Yeah.
Alan, it's very hard to send anything to Ukraine.
It is.
It is much better to find an aid organization that is loading a truck and make a donation. Or just contact united24.ua.gov and see how you can help that way.
Hi, Mitch. Hi, Oku.
You know Oku?
I know them. They're my friends. They send aid with me from Finland also, like animal food and things like this. So they're good people.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you been in Konstantinivka?
Konstantinivka, yes, I have been.
How badly damaged is it? How much of the city is still standing?
Pretty much, but it's under attack more and more because Chasiv Yar is almost gone. So next town is Konstantinivka. I have videos on my profile from Konstantinivka about the train station and everything like this.
So check out Tony's page for recent video of Konstantinivka. Nobody has used any nuclear weapons in this war from anywhere. No. That's a strange question to ask. You would think you would know if that happened. Hey, Tony, will you be in Kyiv in August? We can meet together with Peter. He knows good restaurants. Yes, I do.
So do I.
Dude, you have no idea when Tony is going to be here. You have no idea. Today I got the most notice I ever got. Like 10 hours. I got like a 10-hour notice. And that is the most notice I've ever gotten.
I always send Peter a message about an hour before I'm in Kyiv. Hey, buddy, I'm coming to town. Surprise, bitch.
Who was that one that Tony said? I don't know what that means. What do you think of Trump's ambitions? I think that they are contrary to my own well-being, the well-being of the American people, and the well-being of the world. That's what I think. Tony, do you recommend any other Ukrainian creators to follow? Who should people follow?
Oh, wow. There's a lot of people.
There's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Both Yulias, Joey Contino, of course. Preston Stewart, CyberDoc.
If you want to see something from Ukraine, from Kyiv, like Jesus, Omega dog team, it's Betty Malinois. So search for Betty Malinois. They are bomb dogs. So said he is a really good owner in the military. So yeah.
Well, I'm not sure what's happening with Joey Contino. Chad Scott is a great one, Eli. I'm not sure what's happening with Joey Contino. I've invited him on 3 times, and he's gone silent, it looks like. So maybe the wife called him away for something. I don't know what's happening there. But he is invited on. Flippy and the wife are coming back into town in August. Oh, there he is.
Hey, what's going
Jake
on?
Bro is excellent. Hey, Joey, we're talking about other Ukrainian creators that people should take a look at, and we've thrown out a bunch of names. Who do you think of besides maybe we talked about Chad Scott, Preston Stewart?
Well, you got Masha, who works for the Kyiv
That's good.
Independent. I've got a couple of friends who work for the Kyiv Post. There's a couple decent folks over there. First of all, Peter, thank you so much for doing your lives at 5 and all the other stuff you do.
Oh, sure, man.
The more and more creators that we have talking about Ukraine, the better. Unfortunately, here in the United States, the news doesn't really talk about it much. Which, if you saw, I think United 24 even did my video online because it's like, every day there's a tragedy going on and no one's covering it over here. So thank you so much for doing your stuff. I appreciate it, and I know everyone else appreciates it. Jackie, sorry, my cat is trying to...
We appreciate Jackie.
Yeah,
Joey, I want you to know how much I appreciate Jackie.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
And of course, dude, I mean, your work is second to none. You're definitely an inspiration to everybody over here.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but I don't. I look at it like this. I have a degree in this stuff to broadcasting and multimedia, and if I can get this information out there, the better, because we're helping more people, and I want to do the most I can do. I do I think we're doing 10 reports now a day, and now it's even getting crazier with everything going on in Kursk, which is interesting because you had talked about it briefly a little bit. It is a cluster over there of information, and Putin doesn't know what to do about it. It's actually really funny because I'm reading the Russian Telegram groups, and in it, they're actually specifically calling out Russian leaders, saying they're lying to you guys. And I'm laughing and went, wow, even your pro-Russian bloggers over here, Putin, are saying you guys are lying.
Increasingly, right?
Yeah,
Increasingly.
I mean, we first started really seeing holes in this about a month and a half ago when Ukraine was really going after oil refineries because videos started coming online from people on the ground saying, no, that wasn't debris that fell down. I've got a video of a drone going directly into it from the side. And then those videos started going online, and then those pro-Russian bloggers started questioning their governors. They're like, but you said our air defenses destroyed this stuff. I just saw a video that contradicts that. And now
What
what's
air
going on in
defense
Kursk?
doing?
I mean, I'm reading so many different Russian reports that are conflicting the own Russian Ministry of Defense statements, and it's funny.
You build a house of cards of lies. Eventually, a breeze is going to blow.
Exactly. And I'm hoping that now we're seeing some kind of cracks. Sanctions are still now finally starting to work. It takes years.
It does take years.
Everything that we're seeing about the Russian reserve and things are starting to get to the bottom, though Putin is like the richest man on earth, so he could just, put his own money into it. But it's an interesting world we're in right now.
That is not going to happen. I'll tell you right now.
No,
The
that
central
guy
bank will print more currency, but he won't put his own money in.
No, he needs that $100 billion so that he can have his funeral. That's what that is for.
Oh God! Right? He's gonna want a pyramid, right, so that it can sail him into the afterlife.
Oh my God!
Oh,
He thinks he's a god. It's insane.
it is
Did you
insane.
see Chad Scott's video about what would happen if Putin were to step down?
Oh, I did not.
You should.
I
It's
mean,
really interesting because he does like a great 5-minute long video breaking down who would take over and what would it be like. And I mean, at the end of it, it's like Putin would never leave his office. He would never bow down. He would just go in there until he's gone.
but given the way that he has dispatched, detained, or disappeared all the opposition and focused on this core group of 400 and some odd oligarchs, right, where all the wealth and power is concentrated, many of whom have their own private armies, like the Rosneft and Gazprom
Yep.
armies, and the Chechens, right? Can you not see a kind of internecine warfare breeding in the
Well,
power vacuum?
it's so funny you say that. Putin is the only reason why they've all not attacked each other. He somehow
The
kept some kind of
Dagestanis and the
peace.
Chechens.
Yeah. So it's like if one of them were to take over, they would just start a war within each other. It'd be really
I think that's
interesting to
what
watch.
I think we're going to get the chance.
Yeah.
Right, it
It's not
comes
even
on
that.
right after Swan Lake.
Yeah. Right after, yes. Oh my gosh, it's we're living in a really interesting time, and I just saw like Keith Kellogg, Trump's envoy to everything, just
Yep.
threatened more sanctions on Putin and everything, and it's a weird time. I saw the report that Zelensky might be coming here next week. I reached out to United 24, and I was just like, hey, what's going on here? No one knows anything. So
Is he coming to the U.S.?
well, that was the rumor. That was asked today during the meeting, the press conference between the Prime Minister of Japan and, of course, Trump. And so supposedly he's coming here next week. We'll
Okay,
find out.
cool. Hey, listen, man, while I have you here and while we're kind of, because this is very unusual kind of live for me, right? I'm usually just the talking head up here. But I am, it's a, it, so I've been talking to Dr. K from Caristocracy, right? If you know Dr. K. And she's a political scientist, and she's going to be in attendance at Munich next week, where Keith
Wow.
Kellogg is supposed to unveil the peace plan. And then General Kellogg is supposed to come here to Kyiv to meet with Zelensky immediately afterward. If I'm not mistaken, they're scheduled to meet on the 20th. So Dr. K is going to come on my live the 20th or 21st to talk about her learnings from this security conference in Munich and her reaction to whatever happens with the discussion in Kyiv. So that's something to mark on your calendars, guys.
Yeah,
The
I will. I
20th,
know
21st.
on the 21st, I'll be stuck up in New York City. I've got a couple conferences I'm going to. But on the 20th, I'm so down. I'd be happy to join
Right
you
on.
or listen in.
Yeah, well, as soon as I nail it down, I'll let you know.
Hey, sounds good to me. I appreciate it. But anyway, I just wanted to
Right
come on
on.
here and thank you for everything you're doing. You know, I tune into your lives because you know when you're going live, I'm writing scripts and doing things like that. So I appreciate hearing things from you.
Oh, right on, man. Well, I sure appreciate it.
But you guys have a
It
good
was,
night, okay? Or no, go right ahead.
yeah, no, I was just going to thank you for dropping by. I really appreciate it. It's nice to finally speak,
It's great to
not
talk to
face to
you.
face, but screen to
Yeah, hey,
screen.
you never know. I was supposed to go back to Kyiv in May. I don't know if that's still on the table or not. I'm doing so many projects. When I went to Ukraine for 3 weeks and I filmed all those videos and I'm slowly putting them all together to put online. But I got asked to do other projects, and so all depending on what happens, I might be in there in May. So maybe I'll see you.
Right on, brother. Yeah,
You
hit
stay
me up.
safe.
I'll be here.
Take care.
See you guys later.
Thanks,
Bye.
Joey.
See ya. Now, how do we go back to just me? Does that do it, or how do?
Now we were big.
Okay, how do I make this go away? Any idea?
No, not really. I have no fucking idea.
I don't know either. Okay. All right. So while we're trying to figure out how stupid TikTok works, I want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of tonight's live, who is Be Nice Reborn, or Be Nice is back, because like so many of us, the guy has had 1,000 accounts banned, and he's just constantly changing his name. Hey, Tor. Somebody came in late and they asked how the Kursk incursion is going. The short answer is the fog of war prevents us from knowing what's really happening. The Ukrainians appear to have taken about 4 towns, but they've also suffered losses. No doubt about it. Yeah. Me, Fitz, this is me at the rest home, right? Why won't the volume go up? Why won't the volume go up? It's the microwave, Mr. Alexievich. That's the microwave. uh, could you could Ukraine take out Bunker Grandpa? You know, it's an interesting question. They didn't have the long range weapons necessary to get to Moscow. And we're not sure that they really have them now. They probably have some missiles that could get that far. Whether or not those are bunker busters that could penetrate, to the 10th lower level of the Kremlin is another story. Look at Nicola Jones is asking for tech help from Nightshade. Norway is here. Hey, Tor. Yeah, I know it's so stupid, right, that I can't make it change. Is it this one, maybe?
No, you're just switching the camera backwards.
Oh, shit. That's no good. I don't like that. That's not it.
No.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
How about
That's settings. Oh, here we go. Number maximum. Oh. Oh. I know that's a little better. Clay, do you know I used to work for Microsoft? I was the IT professional evangelist for the Microsoft Corporation's Mid-Atlantic region. I mean, you want to talk about, I know, uh, email messaging systems architecture? I'm fine to talk about that. But don't ask me how to change the panel in TikTok. You got to be kidding. Turn off guests. How do you turn off guests? That's not even. PH, did you send a request? What the hell? Let's bring PH on. Clay is on the floor laughing. Laughter is good. Laughter is the best medicine.
No, he didn't want to.
No, PH? I said yes.
Try now.
Let's see. Somebody, I don't know who that is. Should we dare? Should we take the risk? Sure, why not?
Let's see.
Come on. Let it be a troll.
Yeah.
Hello, who is this?
My name's Ken, man on a mission.
You're on a mission, are you, Ken? What's going on, brother?
Well, I've just been hearing the guy you had on here earlier. I think from what I've seen before, he seemed to be a respectable kind of world news kind of guy.
Yeah, he's got a Pulitzer nomination.
Joey.
Yeah. What I heard in your discussion, I do have some questions, or at least one question, but I also have a really big one. So the smaller one first. What is from my lack of being able to watch more than nightly news a day late, what's going on with Ukraine? Is there any movement towards a peace settlement or no?
Toward a peace settlement? No, there's no movement on that at all.
Really?
And all of the plans, all the details of all of the plans that Trump has that have leaked, all contain non-starters for both sides.
Wow. Okay. That's good. Thank you that's all I needed to know there. Now the other side
Okay.
of it
Yes,
is
sir.
I've been doing indirectly some kind of continuous Bible study, but there's a guy that is really on top of it out in England, and he has nailed down with the ancient prophecies what this.
No. I'm gonna stop you right there, pal. No, we're only interested in reality here.
Okay.
There's a lot of other books out there. Try reading a different one.
Then let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Based on the power vacuums that exist right now, Syria, Afghanistan, what else? What other power vacuums do you see in that region right now that are just begging or available for some sweeping change to come and involve them in a new development of some of power in the region?
Well, brother, I'll tell you, my focus is really Ukraine. And the international space is an extraordinarily complex one. And you're not wrong when you say that particularly Syria is at risk for inter-ethnic and inter-religious warfare. But from what little I know, right, just from what little I know about that situation, the fellow who is in charge, what I'm telling, what I'm just being serious.
Just reading.
Oh, okay. So quite I love freedom doesn't last. But from what little I know about that situation, I know that I watched mass from Damascus after the so-called jihadists had taken over. I know that when jihadis burned the Christmas tree in homes, that they were arrested and they are sitting in jail awaiting trial, and that the government replaced that town's tree. So we're seeing something that one does not see generally with when Islamic fundamentalists come to power. Rather than the persecution of the Christian minority, we see the defense of the Christian minority. And that is a major movement forward for the new Syrian government. We also see the new Syrian government taking the Russians very seriously and hard-nosed dealing with them in a very hard-nosed fashion, which is appropriate, I think.
To keep them out? Or to limit
Initially, the move was to eject them completely. However, it is worth pointing out that there is a dependency in the society on Russian talent and expertise to keep the power plants running. Now, the first job of any legitimate government should be to keep clean water to the people and keep the lights on, right? It does appear that the Syrians are trying to negotiate with the Russians to keep the Russian expertise there and keep the power on. But as a prerequisite to that, you know what they want? They want Assad back to face trial. Very reasonable demand. And they want reparations for all the damage that the Russians did while they were there, as well as some of the money that Assad smuggled out of the country. So they have a tough row to hoe ahead of them. There's no doubt about it. But the initial demands, the initial geopolitical moves coming from the new Syrian leadership are really the right moves as far as, and as I can tell as an amateur.
In other words, taking more responsible for their own sovereignty, but then recognizing they're still in the middle of that transitionary period of, hey, we can't just do this overnight kind of thing. Okay. What's going on with Afghanistan? I mean, because we're talking right next door, right?
Well, I mean, if 2,000 miles is right next door.
Oh, okay. What about,
I mean, it's got to be about two, or maybe I'm thinking kilometers. It might be 2,000 kilometers.
Yeah, it's not really next door.
It's definitely not next door.
quite a bit more north.
East.
East. Okay, what about Turkey? What's going on with Turkey? I've heard there's been turbulence over there too.
Turkey has a lot of problems.
Yeah.
A lot of problems. Turkey right now is trying to play both sides of the fence.
Okay.
As a NATO member, right, they support the NATO objectives, but they haven't directly been funneling weapons to Ukraine. Instead, Erdogan, the dictator in charge of Turkey, his son-in-law owns the company Bayraktar. They're the ones that make the big drones, right? The heavy drones. Mm-hmm. And Bayraktar has donated $100 million in drones to Ukraine. That's more than some countries. So
Whoa.
officially, Turkey hasn't done anything, right? But unofficially, you have all these drones coming in. Meanwhile, Erdogan is trying to get Russia to pipe more natural gas through the Turk Stream pipeline that it can rebrand as Turkish gas and resell to Europe in contravention of the sanctions. Meanwhile, the economy is in free fall with one of the highest inflation rates on the planet. And of course, there's the cross-border incursion into Syria and from Syria by the Kurdish forces that are constantly battling the Turks. So it's a clusterfuck, brother. There's no two ways about it.
Okay.
Next question is about Ukraine.
Next question is about Ukraine.
Yeah.
Now, hang on for a second. The gentleman's questions have all been
They're good.
fair geopolitical questions related to countries adjacent to the Ukraine crisis. So I don't have any problem having this conversation.
Regional.
Regional, I would say that's fair. But do you have any questions about Ukraine?
That was my biggest one, the first one, and just okay. So if you're up on that, and you've recognized all of these as being these potential inroads being non-starters, what is potential that could end this thing, or even if there is none, what direction would it go ultimately?
Oh, that's easy. All we need is for Putin to drop dead of a heart attack.
There's that much dissent.
That would do it right there.
There's that much dissent within his own country over this war at this point.
I think everybody has felt enough pain that if he wasn't there to jail them, toss them out a window, or serve them a cup of plutonium tea, yes, I think that we would see this whole thing come to a crashing halt.
Yeah, even the Russian citizens are getting fed up with. I mean, the ruble have fallen a lot. It's not worth anything anymore.
I mean, it's not good, but it's been pretty stable, surprisingly stable for the last 60 days, even with the artificial controls in place. Yeah, I mean, right at last I checked, I think it was at 94. It's recovered pretty well. Yeah,
Well,
you gotta give her credit. Nabiulina, the head of the Russian central bank.
I don't know if they have Valentine's Day in Russia.
Okay, brother, thanks for dropping by.
Yeah. I don't know if they have a Valentine's Day in Russia, but let's just say Putin finds his
it's more
has a heart attack, and this thing all ends up. Then what is the relationship that results out of Ukraine and the newly somewhat half liberated Soviet Union? Because if Putin's not there, where's the policy going to come from? What's going to happen? They're going to join back up anyway, or that's a real mess.
That nobody knows. Anybody who claims to know what's going to happen on that fateful day is either selling something or just deluded. No, nobody can tell me that they know how that's going to play out. No.
Well, I know you guys have seen pictures of Beirut, or not Beirut, Gaza, and how anybody would want to come back to Gaza. I don't understand. But isn't Ukraine getting to that point? I mean, what's left in that place to live?
Tony, you just drove 10 hours from Lviv. Would you tell this gentleman what you saw in the 10-hour drive? 10-hour drive. Remember, Ukraine is as big as Texas.
Okay. Yeah, let's put that in perspective.
Fields, nothing.
Fields, yeah. Right? Fields, farms, cities. How's Lviv doing? Lviv still standing?
Yeah, Lviv is good.
How about Odessa? Odessa still standing?
Still standing.
Rivne?
Rivne standing.
Ivano-Frankivsk?
Standing.
Standing. Yeah. It's all standing, pal.
Okay, so
there's a 30-mile long stretch along the front line where the Russians have ground civilization under the track of their tanks.
Okay.
But outside that 30-mile wide strip, Ukraine is very much intact.
It is.
You
That's good.
know, in the last 2 weeks, I have been to pubs, museums, a concert, and like a conference, all in town here.
Yeah, I mean, every pub is open until 11 o'clock,
Uh-huh.
11 a.m.
11 p.m.
p.m. Yeah, until 11 p.m. in all the cities here, and it's a normal life with air raid alarms. But
So listen, man, thanks for the questions. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. We're going to take some questions from the queue now.
Okay, very good.
Thanks, brother.
thanks.
Okay, so there were some questions in the queue here that I thought were great questions. The first one is about Starlink. Guys, I apologize. I believed that the Starlink terminals were getting shut off by Musk. It turns out that might not be the case. The Russian Starlink terminals might be being shut down by electronic warfare from the Ukrainians. We don't know the answer to that yet. Do I think Ukraine will be forced into a ceasefire before Russia collapses? I don't believe that anybody can force Ukraine to do anything Ukraine doesn't want to do. I mean, I don't know, Tony, you've been to the Donbass, you talk to soldiers. When I talk to the guys out there, they tell me that if they have to fight Russia with slings and arrows,
They will do it.
they will do it.
Yeah.
They will do it. They will keep fighting. So no, Ukraine will not be forced into anything.
But yeah, weapons are always a problem.
How long can Ukraine hold on if USA stops? Gerwin, you want to you have a thought?
There is a lot of weapons.
I can
still.
smell smoke.
Yeah. So
There's a lot of weapons still,
yeah,
right?
we still have a lot of weapons here. So for a few 1.5, 2 months, we're good.
See, now I don't know, right? But you know, I watch those weapons reports pretty closely. And if they're right, there's actually a whole lot of shit at the new distribution hub in Wiesbaden, right? Remember, NATO or the U.S. transferred the power and control of weapons delivery into Ukraine from the U.S. base in Ramstein to the NATO forces at Wiesbaden, and I'm not sure, but it seems to me that both bases were full of shit at one time at the same time. I think Ukraine might have enough weapons to keep this fight full bore for as much as maybe 6 or 8 months more.
Well, that's good.
Now, again, Tony, I could be wrong, right?
But I mean, what we have here in Ukraine at the moment.
Common sense in crazy times. I'm not sure that that's true. I'm not sure that USAID does investigations. Now, I believe that there was a Senate probe as well as a House probe into Elon Musk before he came into power, but which he shouldn't even have any power. I don't understand what's wrong with these federal employees. I can't get a federal employee to do anything for me. Why don't they just sit at their desks and ignore this cunt the way that they should? Let them come in and drag them out in handcuffs. That is right, Fitz. You know, I met here in Ukraine. I met Paul Smith, who's one of the directors of the Halo Foundation, which is responsible for demining Ukraine. And he believes that with a staff of 10,000 people, he can get Ukraine demined in 10 years. 10 years. That there's probably 2 to 3 million landmines out there that have to be removed for it to be safe. And so, yeah, it's going to take years, Fitz, right? But it can certainly be done. You know, it's a pretty big country, Big D. You're right. It's just a little bit smaller than Texas.
I mean, I talked to a guy down in Kramatorsk. He, for maybe 10 years ago, he stepped on a mine from Second World War.
A Second World War mine, yeah. Yeah, there's still that shit in this country, too.
There's still that. So there's a lot of shit in the ground.
A lot of shit in the ground.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I just thought of something I was going to say, and it went right out of my head. I don't have any idea what Chelsea Clinton has to do with anything we're talking about. Okay, landlord, there is not $100 billion missing. Let's be very clear about that. It's not, I can't say that. It's not a discrepancy. Look, I like Zelensky. I think Zelensky has been very good for this country. But Zelensky is a human being, and he's under extraordinary pressure to save his civilization. That's a tough place to be. So when he said that bullshit about if only we had gotten the 177 billion we were promised instead of the 76 billion we received, right? And so all of a sudden everybody's talking about there's $100 billion missing. It was very disingenuous of him to put it that way, because he knows goddamn well that tens of billions of dollars of that money was never going to him in the first place. It was going back to rebuild our stockpiles of all the things we gave away, right? We gave away 250,000 155 millimeter shells. Well, guess what? We have to order another 250,000 155 millimeter shells. It's going to cost us tens of billions of dollars, right? That money is part of those packages. The money that we send to foreign partners, like the Romanians to do F-16 training, or the Spanish to do F-16 training, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All those partner contributions, that's included in the 177 billion. If you go to Ukraine Oversight, if you just do a search for the Ukraine Oversight website, there is an official government website that tracks all of the money. There is not $100 billion missing. It was very disingenuous of him to put it the way he put it. There isn't Mike 2020. Mike 2020 says there's 100 billion still on the shelf. There isn't. If I'm not mistaken, pledged to Ukraine was 130.6 billion. And according to the General Accounting Office, we have delivered 86 billion. Now, look, so that's about 50 billion left, right? Which includes the 4.8 billion in presidential drawdown authority that Biden left on the table. That includes the 5 billion out of the 61 billion that Congress approved but was never allocated, et cetera, right? That's where that money comes from. So there's still money to be allocated, or I'm sorry, to be delivered. It's been allocated, but it hasn't been spent yet.
There's much of those money that goes to Danish banks that pays a salary to the soldiers, etc. And that's not cheap. Let me tell you that. It's really expensive.
To pay the soldiers?
Yeah.
Well, they certainly earn it.
Yeah.
Are the younger Ukrainian men keen on getting involved with the fighting? Here's the thing, Chris. All the young guys that were keen on getting involved with the fighting, they went and signed right up, right? So that first wave of 1 million troops in, that happened from the most gung-ho, shall we say. Now, there was a chunk of those who were rejected because of medical issues. So, for example, I know this one kid, Victor, who tried to register when the war started, but because he has a heart arrhythmia, they wouldn't take him. So then Ukraine changed the law so that people with a heart arrhythmia could go into the service, and he immediately joined up. So I'm not sure that manpower is as much of a problem as they say it is. But then again, I don't know that it's not either. How you doing? Use your telephone number. Hey, Arn. Dude, would you hand me that cream soda? Could I get a sip of that cream soda or something? Thanks, brother.
Where do you have coffee mug? Clean one?
Yeah. Just grab a glass here or whatever. Okay, how are we doing on time, guys? Again, oh, it's 1 o'clock. Again, I do want to thank, thanks, man. Be Nice is back, or Be Nice is reborn, who's been a long-time supporter of this channel. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he was one of the first 10 Patreon supporters I had. I definitely want to thank Toni Tikeri for being here tonight.
Cheers. Thanks.
And I want to thank Joey Contino for stopping by. I also want to thank Lars, who has the Discord server, Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group on the Book of Faces, and of course, the mods hanging out in the back there. Thank you, guys. Anything on the Russian Legion? They had a brief offensive, then disappeared. Well, they might have disappeared out of the headlines, but I think they're very busy, particularly in Volchansk. So that's the Russian incursion in the north of Kyiv. And it appears that that's where they are in the trenches doing the fighting and some of the heavy lifting on behalf of the Ukrainians, as I understand it. All right, guys, it's 1 o'clock in the morning here. So I got to get to bed. I got to be out the door at 10:30. And we'll see you all in the funny papers. Thanks. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Slava Ukraini.
Heroin Slava.